Race 7 of the BMW IBSF Men's Two-Man Bobsleigh World Cup. We're in Innsbruck in Austria, a second straight weekend at this double Olympic site. And we are here for the first of two races in the two-man competition. So in the odd 2020, we will get 8 races of the two-man season rushed in before Christmas. So far, we've had 5 wins out of 6 for Francesco Seaman. I'm Martin Haven, with me John Morgan. And John, this Innsbruck track is a nice ride for the athletes, but the devil is in the detail.
Martin, I think that's an understatement. Here's our start record. These two veterans, Melbartis, Treeskin's record's been around for a while, but hey, it's so precise, this track. You cannot make any mistakes. The speeds are slow up here. Curve 3, we saw a lot of mistakes in skeleton and women's bobsled with that little curve. This track almost lulls you to sleep because it's so slow. But then you start getting some speed here in Kreisel, and this is the first launch yourself out here with a perfect exit 8. Here's the pivotal part of the track. Curve 9, we'll be looking at runner tips there. Curve 10, big high curve that you dive out into the labyrinths. This is the high-speed part of the track. You're going to see some crashes. You could see them here. Into the finish, uphill finish, still some time. You'll see some athletes ducking their heads there in the last part of the finish curve just to gain 1/100th of a second. And then one of the most difficult braking stretches that exist on the planet. The track's been around for a long time, Martin. It's trained a lot of people. A lot of great racing here. A lot of very close racing here.
Well, last weekend, Francesco Seaman and Johannes Lochner won a race apiece, took a silver medal apiece. So Seaman still leads the World Cup standings with Oskars Kibermanis in 3rd position. We've got a field of 20 sleds, including 2 World Cup debutantes here today. And the return of a big name from a small country of bobsledding. For John, Mr. Cool Runnings Morgan, Jamaica are back in two-man bobsled. So that is going to be an entertaining part of the race weekend. But the real question is, will this man win again? Our World Cup points leader, Francesco Seaman. Anja Schneiderheinz, who's on the jury, John, saw her track record taken away from her this morning by another German slider. Seaman and Torsten Margis own the track record, but Francesco saying last Sunday he wants that record. He thinks this week the weather should be great for new top speeds down this track.
Well, the stage is set, Martin, in a beautiful setting. I mean, it's spectacular above the city of Innsbruck. Here's our start list.
Yeah, great location for sliding. Francesco goes off 7th fastest. It's now 1:33 in the afternoon, so he will have great conditions. And it'll be interesting to see who's going to end up on the podium. At the end of the field, Hans-Peter Honighofer, a new driver for Germany, and Shanwayne Stevens for Jamaica.
Let's go!
We get our 7th race of the BMW IBSF Two-Man World Cup underway here in Innsbruck in Austria with the Netherlands' Ivo de Bruin and Janko Frankic. It's a 49th World Cup start for Ivo, so he'll reach his half-century in two-man races tomorrow.
Ooh, little skid there out of the exit of the grooves. You look at the start time. You know, the record here, Melbartis is in the field. He owns the record with Treeskins. That's got to be a decade old. And, well, he's the rabbit with the fresh ice, Martin. You know, I sort of like the way the track looks. I think the temperature's great. But we're going to have to wait till 7 sleds to see what Seaman can do with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're going to wait for 7 sleds. 13th place in Sunday's race here, his World Cup best in Innsbruck. So he had a personal best on Sunday. Let's see if he can go quicker than that in this first run of Saturday. Sun is out, track is fast, 51.95. That's 7/10 off the track record.
7/10. Let me do the math. Nah. I think Seaman will be like 50/100ths better. I don't think they're going to get below that mark.
Ivo de Bruin, by the way, known as Uncle Cheese to young Hendrix Meyer.
Uncle Cheese. Look at the stride here. Now you got to want to run too far. We saw in the women's race this morning, disaster for the leading German team who crashed into the wall. They still finished second. Now look at him drift to the left. Look at the perfect technique by the brakeman too. Look at that huge man try to get in that little clamshell. Wow.
Janko is a 7-time Bosnian weightlifting champion. You think he's narrow at the shoulders? I don't think so. Next up, Alexei Stulnev of Russia. 46th World Cup start in two-man alone for him, but Igor Gryaznov behind him, a second World Cup start. Roman Koshelev was pushing for Stulnev earlier this season, and it's his second race. Gryaznov started at La Plania in January with Dmitry Popov. They missed the cut there. He may make his first second heat.
That wasn't Eugenie Popov relation, was it?
No, he's not actually. Apparently it is quite a common name.
I was pretty impressed with this guy last week. No, his teammate. Stulnev's been around for a long time. Stulnev's been around a long time. He came after the
Gajcikovic was in this sled last week, John, so he obviously liked the way that it ran for Gajcikovic, and so he's thinking maybe I'll have some of that magic. It looks though this may be a brand new sled, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just was the color, you know, the Russians have been in the traditional white sleds, which are the worst color for television. This sled, obviously with the yellow branding, turns out perfect. You know, so he's down and 10/100ths behind Evo, and you know, Stulnev's, I think he's got like one World Cup medal in his time in Koenigsegg. I think it was in four-man, Martin. He's got a little bit more of a better result in the four-man. That might have been like in 2015 or 16.
3 fourth places, the best he's done in a two-man sled. He was 14th and 18th here last weekend, so anything more than that has got to be a bonus.
Okay, look at the spray off the runners. Oh yeah, he carves it right in there nice. You know, is the ice a little softer? That you have to think of too. I mean, it's not as cold as it was when the ladies went off this morning.
True enough.
And you know, the temperature up here, you know, with the altitude up here, the ice tends to stay pretty good.
Well, here is the 26-year-old Russian Rostislav Gajcikovic. Finished in 8th in race 1 last weekend, 4th in race 2. This is only his 5th World Cup start. We hadn't seen him in World Cup before this season.
Different sled, but I mean, the guy in the back's been around. Oh, trouble. It's over. You know, look at the start, 5:05, Martin. I mean, that's pretty impressive. It's only 900, so he banged the wall. But with the start advantage he's got from his teammate, he should still be the leader. But it's interesting the way they switched up sleds on him this week.
Yeah, you think still
second best speed?
I bet he did.
I don't know about that pulling rank in Russia. I don't want to talk about that pulling rank in Russia. I don't know what that spectrum is, but he's hanging in there. Nowhere near what he could have done without that disastrous start, running maybe one step too far. You know, only 2,400ths up. He beat De Bruyn by 1,700ths at the start, so he should have been 7/10ths up, Martin. He's only 1/3 of that, so we can say that little mishap might have been worth a half a second.
Victoria Tokovaya down there at the bottom. She was helping out in the women's race and with the men.
Look at that. I mean, boy, that sends some fear back up to all the coaches and the teams at the top, telling the brakeman, hey, maybe get in one step earlier, because, boy, you know, the track has such, it's so easy to get down the track that sometimes you just look ahead. And, you know, the start, you make a mistake like that, Martin, it's, that's going to cost him 5 places.
Driver. Maybe the driver running too far. Ilya Malik is a bit
and he's not getting in.
Next up.
Yeah,
Next up, Mikhail Vogt Strange weekend for the Swiss driver last weekend. 4th equal in race 1, 15th in race 2. Silvio Weber behind him has never started a World Cup 2-man race. He's only done 4-man races, so the Swiss swapping in and out their athletes, getting everybody races, keeping everybody fit.
That was a little dicey too. So maybe that groove is not as long as they're used to, but start is off. But I would expect Vogt, who's, you know, because you've been watching him all season, he's been there. Only 200s back. If he has the top speed here, he'll have the right numbers, the green numbers. Only the 3rd best speed. That's why he didn't eliminate that 200s. Still 200s. Now with the best speed. Should see green coming up.
Ivo de Bruin had the best speed all the way down, quicker than both Russian sleds, but now Vogt is top speed, 300s in the lead.
I think Ivo had a good race. 51.63. 800s. I don't know what they did last week, but I don't think Ivo was that close to Mr. Vogt last week.
Well, he was in Heat 2. Ivo was 13th, Mikhail Vogt was 15th, but in Heat 1, in race 1 rather, on the Saturday, Mikhail Vogt finished 4th and Ivo finished 15th, so how do they get away with this?
Pretty inconsistent. Yeah, does he run too far? Maybe runs too far. Watch the sled start to veer left. Counts, sometimes you count. Look at that, I mean, maybe the grooves aren't far enough.
Yep. They're cut fresh every day. They normally go the same way down, but yeah, they're all aiming for that short
wall on the inside. Look at the push bar almost hits. So he avoided disaster, but I don't think that was a great run.
Well, Mikhail Vogt with 3 medals already this season. Let's see what Ralph Bertjens can do. Bertjens, I am corrected. 23 years old, this Latvian, in his 19th World Cup race now. Nemi behind him, 24 years old, new to the team this season. This is his 5th World Cup start.
Yeah, he's pro athlete, he lists in his bio, 10 years, and it says he's a volleyball player. So another great athlete that they plucked off the streets of Riga, probably.
Ralph with 19 starts now, 7 in Sigulda and 4 in Innsbruck. So of his 19 races, 11 have been on just 2 tracks.
100th lead, best speed. He's shown some driving talents. 200s up, still the best speed. And that's not bad line, a little bit of a drift. Let's see if he gets off 10 okay, yeah. Dead heat, so he's lost speed back. So I think he's going to be a couple hundreds behind Mikhail Vogt. Yes, even though with the best speed in the bottom, he still has 400s deficiency. But Vogt beat him by 200s at the start. And you know that multiplier effect, Martin. If you got 200s at the start, all things being equal, you should have 600s at the bottom. I still say Ivo de Bruin had a good heat, especially with the 22 start. Good. Look at the exit of 9, pivotal part of the track. How much ice do you cut on the exits? Boy, he comes around the bottom of the curve. Did he steer a lot there? There was some carving.
Too low.
And yeah, and he came over here and tapped the wall.
5 sleds down, and our race leader is Switzerland's Mikhail Vogt. First heat, race 7 in the BMW IBSF 2-man bobsleigh World Cup. We're in We're in Innsbruck in Austria for the 2nd straight week. This is Italy's Mattia Variola, 10th World Cup start as a driver for him. 12th in Sigulda race 4, his best result. He finished in 16th place in Saturday's race last weekend, his best in Innsbruck.
Well, they did in with no hassle on the list. 5:15 start, 4th best start, 3rd best speed. Why do I say that? If you have the 4th best start and you improve your speed, that means you entered the sled good and got around the first curve, and then the timing guy kicks in.
That's
Well, you have
impressive
to
work
watch
from
the
his
speeds.
brakeman. Eric
Hammer throw.
Yeah, and this is only his second ever bobsleigh race
Yeah, a
of
lot
any
of track
kind
and field,
at
but
all.
you know, a lot of track and field, but usually it's the sprint. Decathletes, that was close to crashing, but this guy's a hammer thrower. He just kissed the lip.
He's in trouble.
He's not. I think he got it in control because he's going so slow now. But he made it exciting, Martin. You know, if you can't win, make it exciting. Manuel Mahata not real happy with his young driver's performance there. Puts him in a fifth position.
Watching through his fingers there, won't he? That was scary for a moment or two for Mattia Variola. Former brakeman. 15 two-man races in the World Cup as a brakeman, now 10 as a driver, but that he got away with. There was a couple of close moments in that run, John Morgan.
Yeah, and he had kissed the lip in 10. That's tough to get way up there in 10. Look at these pictures. It's not the way you want to be looking at the exit of the curve. Airborne. We didn't see anybody like that in the women's competition or the men. He's up there in no man's land. And look at how he had to steer off there, Martin. He did a panic steer at the end, and watch this in 10. The lip, bang. You never see anybody up there. There's frost up there.
Yeah.
Well, and he's still hanging out in 10, but he corrected it. Well, if you can't win, be excited.
Lamindine made the same mistake in training, rolled off 9. Francesco Seaman now, second and first last weekend, 31 wins in two-man. And he is chasing Andre Lange's total World Cup win of 43 wins.
He's got Alexander Schuller behind him.
Yeah. Schuller in his 8th World Cup race has had 6 wins and a silver out of those 8 out of the previous 7 starts. Can you believe his record?
Well, we saw a guy yesterday named Dukars that got quite a record. This FF guy here he's establishing himself as one of the GOATs of all time.
Look at the gap he's got. Half a second up. This could be a track record coming up. He's going to be close. 51.25. He's inside it by 0.2 of a second. That is insane.
Yeah, should have seen that. 5900s ahead with what Vogt came down at.
Man, oh man, he was after that record, and he's done it in the first heat.
It's his own record that he had with Thorsten Margus. And Kay, you want to launch yourself here out of the Kreisel slingshot? Curve 9, how's the ice carving going on here? That's as good as anybody. Of course, he just set the track record. But just another record-setting performance for this very mellow German. Day at the office, as my friend Martin Verstraete says, and Ideal is longtime sponsor.
So next up, Dominik Dvorak for the Czech Republic. 31st World Cup start as a driver in two-man. And 4th place, equal with Mikhail Vogt in the first race. Last weekend was a career high, not just in Innsbruck, but equaled his best ever World Cup two-man results. They were then 5th on Sunday. Dominic Sushi behind him started as a brakeman, John, do you know when? 2007.
Probably not Pavel Puskar. He'd be with, I'll come up with it quick, but
yeah.
Start, boy, not a very good start there. You know, I don't know his normal brakeman in, but usually Dominic gets better starts than that. Martin, we've seen a track record.
Everybody in the team all season, so he's just keeping them in, keeping them out, keeping them healthy. Their speed, look at that.
Though. Yeah. Martin, track record, we've seen him in every discipline so far, right? Women's skeleton, men's skeleton, women's bob, now men's two-man bob, right? 3 track records or 40? I think all track records. How can they keep lowering the track record on this track? I mean, where are they going to be in 10 years? I mean,
they keep getting fitter and faster, and the equipment is getting better. Yeah. 51.70, 4th place again for Dominik Dvorak. It's a good-looking run.
Great speed. They don't show us, well, I don't see Francesco Friedrich's speed in our commentator information screen.
He didn't have the highest speed, Francesco, anywhere down the track.
Well, he had the best start, so, you know, the start by ridiculous. He beat everybody. I mean, the closest, the Russian was 500ths behind, and he crushed the wall, didn't he?
Yeah.
Look at this little skid there, Dominik. Little dicey.
So-so. So 9th of our 20 starters is Francesco Seaman Friedli, 29-year-old Swiss. 4th two-man drive for him. No, I beg your pardon, 24th two-man drive for him. This is Andres Haas behind him. The 24-year-old has had 1 bobsleigh race in his life. This is his World Cup debut. And he was in before his driver.
Hey, Innsbruck's been the debut for many people. For their first rides ever, bobsled schools. You know, you want to learn the sport, this is the greatest, probably, training ground that exists on the planet for the sliding sports. And it's so accessible, Martin. The tracks, you know, they slide here. 4/10 back, second best speed. Well, he's going to have to turn on some afterburners here.
This is his 10th World Cup race as a driver, Seaman Friedli. 6 of the previous 9 races have been in Sigulda.
That's the weird season we're having. Sigulda, right? Did he have a crash at Sigulda? Yeah.
Yeah, that was last season. Crashed when he was in 3rd place after the first heat. Came back the next day and took silver. So yeah, he knows no fear.
51.81, 6th.
Bronze medalist already this season in Sigulda.
It's about 11 hundredths out of Dvorak. How can you, wrong side there, but he crosses over well into the 8 take-on. There's the exit of the 8. Take-on's where you get on, the outlet's where you get off. 9. What's he do? Check out the runners. You don't see any variance. And, there's some issues there at the exit of 9.
Interesting battle between these two Swiss. Seaman Friedli has had the medals. Mikhail Vogt also this season in the medals, but Mikhail Vogt is currently lying in 2nd place. Patrick Baumgartner, second of our two Italian drivers. Mattia Variola, his teammate, currently tied for 8th with Alexei Stulnev. What has this youth Olympic champion got? He was 17th and 14th last weekend.
Wasn't that Youth Olympic Championship in 2012, Martin, here on the Innsbruck track?
He was the first ever. Yes, that's right. In the boys bob, he was the first Olympic champion.
Just haven't seen Patrick, you know, if he sniffs the top 10, it's great for him. But, you know, he's got a lot of experience. Not driving a red sled. An Italian not driving a red sled, Martin. Can you remember, you know, just think of that.
Oh, you know why? Because he's in Brad Hall's sled that Brad drove last week. That's why. That's why it says thank you NHS. That's not the Italian National Health Service.
There you go.
It's just taken me half the run to spot what sled it was. So I'm busy looking at stats. So 5:27 getaway.
I don't know if I've ever seen an Italian not driving a red sled.
Well, there you go. It's got Great Ormond Street Hospital, support the Marines, all the charities that the British boys are using. So they're changing things up a little, trying to find something different, borrowing a sled, because Brad is driving a different sled today.
Okay, watch the brakeman's arms. Gets in. Arms should come down and come up in cohesion. Oh, he's not with the perfect form, so if there were some judges here, Martin, we might knock off a few points for that entry.
Yeah. Gregory Jones was on the sled last weekend. It's Alex Verginer behind Patrick Baumgartner. Baumgartner currently lying in 10th place. Francesco Friedrich, the runaway leader. Halfway through the first heat, race 7 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup in Innsbruck in Austria. Next up, Mihai Centea sat in for both race starts last weekend. So Ciprian Darocci, I think, is going to be doing all the heavy lift. No, he's not. Okay, so Mihai is going to risk whatever ails him and try for a start. He finished 20th in both races last weekend, made the cut where Rudy Rinaldi and Monaco, also sitting in, did not. 5:27 getaway.
Yeah, 10th best start, and then the 11th best speed. So, you know, I don't know what injury he had, hamstring or some lower body, I'm sure, extremity. That's why you just admire what Friedrich's done. This is a young athlete here, Centea. He's, what's he, 24 years old, 23, and
yeah, 22,
he's got some injuries. How many times have we ever seen Friedrich sit in the sled?
Not in my remembrance, that's for sure. Well, they started a clear half-second quicker with Centea pushing, no matter how little effort he was actually getting in there. So that makes a big difference to their downtime. Where's he going to be? 8th place out of 11 sleds so far off the 10th start. Yeah.
So we do have a tie with Variola.
He's got good driving skills. Yeah, he's 8th, Variola 9th, tied with Stilnev. So 3 sleds covered by 100th.
100th of a second, so that'll be interesting in the second run for, maybe a top 10. So, I mean, he can drive, Martin. He had some pretty good results up there in Sigulda. What's the brakeman doing? Bang. Very good technique. We rate him with, these trainers done a good job with him. Okay, now let's look at the driving and the exit of the curve. Pretty good. Little bit of a variance there, but
again, 10 World Cup starts before today, 6 of which were in Sigulda. Next up, Johannes Lochner. 5 wins in his two-man World Cup career, 1 last weekend, and 1 of his 12 podiums came last weekend as well. He was first in race 1, second in race 2. Christian Rasp back behind him, pushed on Saturday last weekend with Christoph Hafer, back in with Hansi on Sunday. So he missed out on the win. Eric Franke pulled a hamstring in their fast starts to claim gold on Saturday.
Well, that's 700s back already. Great velocity, though. Look at that. So he might not have had the best start, but he had the best velocity, or tied the velocity with Friedrich. He's already 1900s back. That is not a good sign. On this track, he bleeds anymore, 22. He's got the best speed, but it's going to be pretty tough to track down Double F.
Well, this is what he did last Saturday. He had the best speed below the Kreisel and just ran away from everybody. I mean, it was a big margin of victory. Let's see if he can do it again. He won by 2/10.
Well, it's not going to be a 2/10 victory today. Is that Eric?
It sure is not. Well, not for him anyway. Mind you, he's still 2600s ahead of 3rd place.
Strange up there, Martin. He had that, 5/800s down start, 700s down at the start, but he had the best velocity. But the next clock, he's down 1900s. Something does not add up to me.
It's carrying that speed in the upper labyrinth. That's what Francesco was saying last weekend. Johannes the same. If you get down to 6 with good speed, that's it. You're good for the rest of the track. But if you lose it in 2, 3, 4...
Yeah, Hansi was perfect here. And he had the good speed, in the bottom, but something happened up top there.
Giving it away before he gets down to the Kreisel. That's the problem, I think.
Yeah, he was 2200s back at the Kreisel, only 33 at the bottom. So here we go.
There were only 3 men in the medals last weekend, and Oskars Kibermanis was the 3rd of them. He took a bronze in both races. He has been a winner on this track, a medal winner on this track, but not an outright winner. He's had a couple of bronze medals, 3 now.
Real clean
if he can add to that.
Into the sled. See what the speed is, 4th best speed. So, they have the 2nd best start and then he got the 4th best velocity. And so let's see how far back. Only 1,300 back. Remember, Lochner was 2,200 back at this part.
We talk about not getting injured, John, and the Latvians are sensational for that. This Latvian brakeman, Matis Miknis, last Sunday was his 75th World Cup bobsleigh race. This is his 37th in two-man alone.
Not carrying great speed here. 3,500 back. This looks maybe 3rd. He keeps it up. Boy, no speed on this Latvian sled. Ducks his head. There's the 3rd. But, of course, no speed.
Yeah.
He's 3rd. There's no speed compared to that rocket ship Friedrich, is, but...
Yeah, rocking his head as he comes side to side. That's a universal expression. Not entirely happy with that one. Could have been worse, could have been better.
Friction. He fell off there pretty good. Didn't see a lot of ice chips coming up. Very smooth ride. Maybe too smooth. A little airborne there into that. Everybody seems to get air in the back runners there. 11, 12, 13.
Well, we go from Oskars Kybarmanis of Latvia, his 61st World Cup two-man race, to a man having his 70th two-man start. This is the 155th World Cup race for Oskars Melbardis. Bearing in mind he's had a couple of seasons away, he's still racking them up at the age of 32. Yeah.
Great moments in our broadcast career, Martin. The World Championships here in 16. He won the World Four-Man title, Latvians first ever in bobsledding to win a World Championships. Came from behind, and Friedrich was the last guy down, had the lead. Friedrich had a problem in curve 9 and 10. Gave the race away to Melbardis. And then, of course, he went on the next year to win the Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, 9-10 was a huge issue here last week, but it looks like they've cut the ice away a little bit, made 9 a little bit more progressive.
Well, this guy is he's the track record holder at the start, him as a driver, and he had the 9th best start now. So he is getting on in age. His buddy Drieskins is no longer with us, but he's also in that age thing. So 6th, not bad. 9th best start, 6th best finish.
Yeah, tied with Dominik Dvorak. They are 300ths behind 5th and 100th ahead of Guy Tukovic in 8th. That's a good four-way battle there. Well, up to Mikhail Vogt in 4th, who's only 700ths ahead of them. So
600ths. So it's game on for the outside the top 3. The top 3 have sort of separated themselves. Can't fault much of the driving here. A little back end airborne, but everybody's doing that. And boy, did the brakeman put the brakes on too quick? Where that Omega banner is.
Nice and early. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was too quick there.
Well, next up in a new sled this weekend, or in their alternate sled, Brad Hall from Great Britain. 7th in race 1, 6th in race 2 last weekend. Sam Blanchett having his first race in a season. His last two-man World Cup was in Innsbruck in January. In fact, it was in Koenigsegg in January 2018.
Well, the start.
This is there. Whoa! Hits the wall.
Watch the speed here now. 13th best speed. That's probably what he's going to finish at, about 11th or 12th at the bottom because of that mishap.
So changing things up a little bit with the ex-Exeter Chiefs and Great Britain Rugby Sevens player behind him, but again it looked like the driver didn't have control of the sled as they came out of the drive lines. 12th best speed in the Kreisel.
13th. Yeah, he's fighting for a 13th spot.
And they're only the 15th sled on ice. Ooh, a little late.
The rest of it is 11th. and probably 40 hundredths of that is related to the mishap at the start. Let's listen to what they say.
Might be a little bit of choice Anglo-Saxon. Well, Brad Hall's two sleds are 9th and 11th. Seaman Friedley in his regular sled is 9th. So watch where the drive lines run out here, and does the driver have his hands under the cowl?
He got in right where the spike marks are, but it's already, he went too far. I mean, you see the spike marks up the right side of your screen? That's probably an indicator you want to get in a half step quicker than that. He just didn't get in time, Martin, to grab the handles.
Yep.
He was out of the drive lines.
Blast out, another big start.
Hey, that's a third mishap in the men's race. We saw it, disastrous result for the women.
Francesco Friedrich, our race leader, with 15 sleds down. Next up, Benny Meyer, Austria, hometown boy, back in his regular Valness sled this weekend. This is the one that Francesco Friedrich won two-man World Championship gold in. A couple of years back, and again, he just twitches out of the drive lines, gets away with it.
6th best start, 7th speed, but that's related to that little change of direction. You know, he didn't hit the wall, but it definitely cost him some speed points.
Finished 12th in both races last weekend, but he's had 3rd place finishes here before.
Well, he's a much more accomplished four-man pilot. As good as anybody, but
yeah, this is a really good run.
Yeah, he's hanging right in there.
He was up to 4th below the Kreisel. 6th at the line. He's in that log jam. Mikhail Vogt in 4th is 500ths ahead of him. He's 100th behind Ralph Bersinch, and he is 200ths ahead of Dvorak and Melbardis, 300ths ahead of Guy Jukovic. John, that's going to be a real knife fight, isn't it?
Yeah, 6 sleds and 800ths. But I'm sure Benny knows. Talking about Hendricks, and again, now watch the right side of your screen when they show the front shot. Look at the spike marks and the see how there's the measure. You saw that variance. Look at those spike marks. He's in way early before that last spike mark, so there's no reason for him now. Maybe he kicked the push bar, or kicked the rope, Martin, because he was in 2 steps before those spike marks. So he might have hooked his foot on the handle.
Marcus Sammer in the back, 35 starts. He's pretty experienced. The brakeman here for teammate Marcus Treichel, less so. 3rd World Cup start for Gregor Globoniat. His 5th ever bobsled race. Marcus Treichel making his 29th two-man World Cup start. Parents helped run the track here in Innsbruck. Best here, 11th place back in 2019. He was 18th and 16th last weekend.
I think these are Wallner sleds, right? He's got 2 brand new Wallner sleds. This is the 3rd year in them. He got them for the Olympic season. Tap there. That's a no-no for anybody, especially somebody this is his home track. He's been dealing with injuries last year, Martin. You know, sometimes those injuries don't allow you to train. They carry over into the summer, don't allow you to train. And again, that's what is such a marvel about Francesco Friedrich. He's like a warhorse. He's healthy. Ooh, real high.
That's half the art. Big height. Marcus Treichel 15th at the start, but 17th at the bottom of the track.
Wolfgang looks on. Wolfgang didn't have very good results in two-man, but boy, he was a speed merchant in the four-man.
Yeah.
So Marcus just
still knows how to build a quick sled, doesn't he?
Well, he's got so much knowledge. So Marcus in 17th place. I'm now saying the tracks is gone because Treichel should have been a little bit better than where he's finished. Even
that's where he was last week as well. Yeah.
A good
last week he had an early start draw, still only finished 16th, 18th. So, well, 3 sleds to go. Big height there early.
Yeah, really high for somebody who knows the track. That's no Austrian shortcut, that line.
Elizabeth Meyer telling us that Marcus Treichel has actually built that sled himself, or rebuilt it himself. Lamin Dean next up for Great Britain. 29th two-man World Cup start. He's got 48 in four-man. He's not really a big fan of the two-man, but needs must. Made his two-man debut here in January 2011. Behind him, Ben Simons, 33-year-old performance coach, making his return to the team. And Lamin Dean finishing in 19th place in both races last week. His World Cup best in two-man is a 14th place finish in Altenburg, but that was back in 2015.
Well, 2016 Worlds, we talked about Mel Bardis winning the gold. This athlete right here, Lamin Dean, in the four-man competition, was in 4th place and was early off in the 3rd heat. And we all said, he's going to win a medal for Great Britain. And he crashed in curve 8. That was shocking. And what happened the other day, Martin, in the two-man training that you and I covered?
Yeah.
In curve 8 again.
9. Yeah.
So let's see
Here we go, out of 7.
Here in curve 8. Might have been the last time down. He crashed here. Let's see what he does. 8. And he makes sure he steers enough to get through there.
You saw Pete Gunn filming at 9 just to make sure that they've got the evidence. So 15th best start, 16th on the splits ahead of Marcus Treichel. Well, at the moment, potential to be 2 or 3 spots higher than he was last weekend. So Ben the Bounce in the back, helping him at the start. And Lamin Dean dialing himself in gradually into this Innsbruck track.
The guardian of the Queen, right?
Yep.
Is he still doing that job?
Yes, indeed. Grenadier Guardsman still gets the uniform on. Yeah.
What's he do here? A lot of carving going on there. A little drift.
So the good news is they weren't using their helmets. They were still on the runners, which is better than training.
Through and down, Lamin. All these guys doing that are. Oh, let's get back up here to talk.
Next up,
we need some information.
Shanwayne Stevens and Matthew Wetpay from Jamaica. The driver is a gunner in the RAF regiment. The brakeman is a Jamaica Rugby Sevens winger, John. I had to ask him because I knew you'd want to know. So the brakeman, Matthew, had his first ever ride in a bobsled on Thursday last week.
Hey,
Shanwayne Stevens has had 12 bobsleigh races before now. They're being coached by Nicky Minicello and Joe Manning, who've done such great stuff over the years with the small nations for IBSF and with Brazil. And Jamaica is back in men's bobsledding. This is a nice-looking run, isn't it?
Ooh.
Whoa!
Not bad. A little high there, but Dudley and Chris Stokes are watching back in Jamaica. It's great to have these guys out here a year before the games.
They make their World Cup debut down and in 52.56. So that is the first official race for brakeman Matthew Wetpay.
Cool runnings, baby.
Shanwayne Stevens, our brakeman, our driver rather.
Yeah. Get us some bio information, you guys.
Hey, I've got some. There's the egg.
There's the egg.
Sanka, you dead, man? No, you ain't dead. You just started your first race.
I like these guys.
Are going to be fun to be around. Yeah, I know.
Fun to be around. Well, we just want them to be in every heat.
Bit of a wild
look at
ride.
the steering there. You think he was doing a little steering there? Pete Gunn will help him out.
Talking to Matthew, the brakeman, last night, and Shanwayne saying, listen, just get it down. You learn nothing by being on your head. You learn that crashing hurts. You probably knew that already. Okay, our final starter in the first heat is also a World Cup debutant. Hans-Peter Hanighofer, 23-year-old leader of the Europa Cup this year. He won both races in Winterberg a couple of weeks ago, making a World Cup start for the first time.
These guys can do at the start. They get in nice. He's a big guy. Not bad. Great start. 07.
Issam Amour behind has made 4 World Cup starts now. But a 5.07, that is world class.
The driver's sitting up pretty high, though, Martin. That helmet seems to be up a little higher than most.
He's a big guy.
Look, he's a big guy.
He's a big guy. 23 years old. He's only started 19 bobsleigh races officially before now, in 2-man and 4-man combined. So this is a guy, really, in effectively his 3rd season maybe of driving. And he gets a World Cup start.
Doing pretty good.
And he's, top 4,
like
challenging Mikhail Vogt.
For sure.
And he's ahead of Vogt. 200s out of the medals. There's the Yarvol, I think. Yeah, absolutely.
Another German. Great speed. He goes late. Wow. Welcome to the tour.
Well, that's good news. The track holding up well. I mean, you know, the other two, Friedrich and Lochner, are both 30. This guy's 23.
Well, look
He's
how
the next
big
generation.
he is, too.
Yeah.
Look how big this guy is.
If he couldn't drive, he'd make a hell of a brakeman, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Probably was. Let's watch for the carving.
Don't think so.
Nice. Pretty good. Little drift. I think he's got to get a little lower. That sled.
That is a big man. Hans-Peter Hanighofer could take a medal on his debut. Right now, though, 33 hundredths up after the first heat is Francesco Friedrich with Alexander Schuller behind him. Schuller has never been in a bobsleigh race where he wasn't on the podium. I think that may well continue.
Look how low Friedrich's helmet is compared to that German that just came down. Look at the difference. Yeah. Nice buddy Rainer Jacobus, I'm sure, is watching.
Yeah. Well, he knows how to win, and he's gracious in defeat when it occasionally happens. Francesco Friedrich leads by 3/10, but look at the battle behind. 200s to decide the bronze medal. Kubermanis versus new boy Hanighofer. Then Mikhail Vogt leading everybody else in one tight bunch all the way down to Seaman Friedli. Ivo de Bruin, 100th ahead of Brad Hall. Mihai Tente, 100th ahead of Variola and Stulnev. And then Baumgartner and Dean, 200s apart. And Jamaica are back in bobsledding in the World Cup. So find out what happens in our second and deciding heat. We'll be back at 5 minutes past 3 local, 5 minutes past 2 GMT, which is in just over 50 minutes. Join John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew for all the sliding that's fit to show.